All right, could you imagine making your debut as a 19-year-old in New York City? At 19, I was working at a film vault in Hollywood. You were probably getting high at a Led Zeppelin concert. Coming to you pre-tape from the Best Coast Show studios, this is the Best Coast Show. I'm your host, Albert Aguilera. That's my producer, Curtis Stage. Curtis, since our last Dodger show, we've slipped out of first place.
Yes.
And our odds to win the World Series have now dropped to 20-1.
Yeah, like we said last episode, this team is an average team, although in the last week and a half...
We're no longer a playoff team.
No, but we've been playing better than things are starting to kind of come around for a few players. We'll get into that in a second. This is going to be a Dodgers episode. Fans, we have a guest on the show today. We'll get to him in a second. Dodgers are 28-25, second in the NL West. We're 4.5 games behind the Giants. We had a great debut. Well, an exciting debut.
Exciting, not great. Exciting.
We'll talk about that. Kershaw, is he better than Arrieta? Is Arrieta better than Kershaw?
I don't even know why you're asking that as a question.
I'm not asking it, really. And then, we got to talk about our arms, the bullpen again, of course. And then we got to talk about lasers. This is the first time on the show we've had to talk about lasers, and I really like that. I like lasers. So let's get started.
Technology. And speaking of technology, joining us live, but pre-tape for you guys at home via the magic of Skype, is our good friend. He runs the Shavine Fiends on Twitter. He runs the Scully Avenue podcast, and you guys all know him as the diehard Raider fan that's living in pain up in San Francisco. Vince Samperio, everybody.
Yay!
For those of you who don't know, Vince is from Los Angeles, but unfortunately he moved away from the greatest city in the world to go live up in San Francisco because he got a fantastic job working for Bleacher Report as a social media programmer.
What is that?
What is a social media programmer, Vince?
It's just a fancy term for a person that tweets and posts on Instagram.
Oh, sure.
Ha! Ha! Screw you, Dave.
Yeah.
I told you, it's just a fancy title. It's a fancy title.
Wait, that's you.
No,
You
that's
do
not
that.
me.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
fancy title for someone that wants to bump up their LinkedIn because he is our social media coordinator, not our social media director.
But
you are not our director. You are coordinator.
But to be fair, Vince did get to move to San Francisco.
That is, but
Are they paying your rent up there?
yeah, dude,
Vince?
rent up there's got to be insane.
They gave me a package to move out here.
Nice.
Oh, look at that.
Nice. I love
Okay,
it.
kids, you see that? If you're really good and savvy with words and social media and the technology,
with
companies will pay you to move to tech cities, and they'll pay for your ridiculous rent because San Francisco is stupid expensive.
I always tell my students to be good with words.
You got to be good with words.
Got to be good with words.
But Vince is great with words, and that's why we have him on the show.
Yeah.
And Vince, first thing we want to talk about, the prodigy, the phenom, Julio Urias made his debut against the Mets. And how stressful do you think that was for a 19-year-old making his debut, major league debut in New York City? And I mean, what were you doing at 19? Not starting for the Dodgers.
Wait, against DeGrom,
Against
too.
DeGrom.
Yeah.
And the flow, the hair.
Yeah. I was nervous, and I wasn't even on the mound, so I can imagine how it was for him. 19, I was in college working an after-school program with kids. So I was coaching kids. That's about as high stress as it got. But this kid's been in this Dodger system now for 4 years. They signed him on the same trip where they signed Yasiel Puig. For me personally, it's been really exciting. He's from Mexico. I'm Mexican, so we have that whole aspect. I got to talk to him last year in spring training. He's really cool, really, really mature, stuff like that. So for me, it was nice to see, but it was kind of what I expected. 19 years old. He's always had issues moving from one level to the next just in his first few starts. So I kind of expected that in general. But what was good was really good. So, I mean, there was a lot to like, and there was obviously a lot to not like. But I think he'll turn it around.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty insane. I mean, look, listen, everyone knows, you guys know it, Vince knows it, Curtis knows it, the world knows it. I'm not big on prospects. I hate prospects. You're nothing more than a prospect until you are something. And I was genuinely excited to see Julio come up and pitch. And his issue was the same issue that he had in spring training and the same issue that Clayton Kershaw had when he started his career, his accuracy. He threw like 85 pitches, but literally half of them were balls, and he was missing low, he was missing high. He had that issue in spring training. Eventually, the jitters are going to go away. The command's going to be there. I mean, when we brought him up to AAA last year, we saw he got wrecked. Yeah. And, he has trouble as he goes up every level, but now in AAA, he's doing amazing, and I think that he's when he comes up for his second start, because Alex Wood is going on the DL, he might do a little bit better. But the Dodgers do have him capped at 100 innings this year. So, like, guys, Curtis said it last week on the show or the week before on the show. Julio's not coming up to save the ball club or the rotation or anything because he's capped at 100 innings this year. So even if he starts throwing perfect game after perfect game, they're going to shut him down.
Yep. And like I said, there was the good stuff, 95 on the black, a curveball to David Wright that swung him out of his shoes. But, yeah, he's not here to be that guy that's going to lead them to a World Series. They did say they're going to try to keep him around long enough to pitch in September. So I'm sure if Wood is okay or once Ryu and McCarthy come back, they might move him to the bullpen, try to save his innings that way. But it'll be fun to see him. He should start this week, Thursday against the Cubs or Saturday at home, which hopefully Saturday at home against the Braves. That'll be a nice little
the Braves suck.
way to get in there.
Because the Braves suck. And let's talk about the Braves for a second here. Guys, remember how we were asking you guys to help us with a Kickstarter or GoFundMe so we can raise $4 billion so we can buy the UFC?
Yeah.
What we want to do now.
Wait, what's going on with that? Are we doing?
Well, I'm still working on that.
Okay.
I'm still working because Chase Bank sent me a letter in the mail saying, sorry, sir, we're not going to approve you for $4 billion. We don't feel that you purchasing the UFC is a sound investment.
Yeah.
That just shows you how little they know. That's why they crippled the economy years ago.
Yes.
Anyways, the Atlanta Braves suck. They are terrible. But we're only 50 games into the season, and because we're only 50 games into the season, anybody can turn it around. Now, if you look at the Atlanta Braves, they are 9,980 to 1 to win the World Series, and they are 5,000 to 1 to win the NL pennant. So what I'm saying is let's get some dollars together and put them in there.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, guys, you spend more money every day on cigarettes, Starbucks, hookers, porn, and you spend more money on dumber shit. Why not put it into this potential investment?
Get Leicester City.
Leicester City, baby. Leicester City was 8,000 to 1, and they did it, right, Vince?
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's try to get behind the Braves bandwagon and put some money on there.
Now, continuing on, Vince, with pitching, I mean, obviously this is all Dodger fans' concern. I mean, offense aside, we'll get there in a second because I think that Turner's going to come back around. I mean, I'm not sure what's going on, with him, if he's still actually hurt or not. Or
he had the knee surgery,
if his
so it could be
timing is
lingering.
just off. But let's talk about the pitching just for a second because Urias is obviously he's not going to be the savior here. But we're hoping that Ryu is, but he just had another setback.
He had another setback.
So what do we see? I mean, when do we see him coming up? Do you have any insight on that? Do you think that he's going to be back after the All-Star break, or what's up there?
Yeah, with Ryu, I always said July was the earliest we'd see him. Now with the few setbacks he's had, I mean, the good thing is it's just been soreness, which can be fixed with rest. It's not any general pain. Soreness is good. He just hasn't used his arm in a year and a half, so that's normal. I don't think we see him till after the All-Star break. Same thing with Brandon McCarthy. We won't see him till after the All-Star break. And then Brett Anderson, we probably won't see till August.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's three guys right there that can make almost any rotation who aren't going to be back until July or August. So, and now Alex Wood just went on the DL. He's getting an MRI on his elbow. Who knows what that'll be? They said it wasn't structural, but if it wasn't structural, why would he get an MRI?
Exactly.
I mean,
You got to be safe. It's better safe than sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, Mike Bolsinger's back. He's solid enough. Kenta Maeda's had his struggles, but he has the stuff to be able to hold it down. Ross Stripling's still in the minors. He did good in his few times up here, so he could always come back. But like I said, the starting, I mean, once you have one every 5 games, you're going to win with Kershaw. And then you got right now you got 4 other guys who you never know. But then Casimir's had great last 2 starts. He matched Arrieta last night. He had 12 strikeouts his last start. So I think the pitching can hold it down for the time being, at least the starting pitching.
Well, I think that the pitching staff in general, the bullpen and the starting pitchers, they're getting a bad rap. Look, listen, our bullpen's not the best. But
they're fourth in the
we're fourth in the
ERA,
National League, and we're fourth in starting pitching in the National League, which is okay. But I think that the problems that the bullpen has just get so pronounced because we're not hitting for shit. I mean, you go out there, you give up 2-3 runs. When Julio went out to New York and gave up 3 runs in the first inning, I was like, fuck, this game's over. We lost. We're not scoring. luckily we came out there. Chase Utley became Chase Utley. Chase Utley's a fucking stud right now, man. And the Silver Fox, this guy.
Who would have thought?
But, Baez comes out and just gives it up in the 9th. Meanwhile, everyone's sitting around going, why the fuck didn't Kenley come in? Because, look, I don't believe in the save stat. I believe in bringing in your best pitcher for the best situation, whether it be Kenley or anybody else. Why would you sit Kenley? And people are saying, okay, what if Kenley came in the 9th, got the hold, and then Baez gave it up in the 10th?
In the 8th and got the hold.
Right, or got the hold and gave it up later in the 9th or the 10th inning and we went into extras. But at least you did what you tried to do with your best player on the mound,
Vince, who would you have put in that situation? I mean, this was when Kershaw was pitching, not his best game, but he still was in line for the win. And he goes out with a lead, and we've got, we bring in Libator in the very next pitch. We got a triple over Puig's head. Who would you brought in there? Would you have brought in Kenley? Would you left Kershaw in?
Any of those two. It would have been leaving Kershaw, and it would have been letting Kenley do it. You got to win or lose with your best players. No knock against Adam Libator, who's been pretty solid this year. He's stranded 11 of 14 runners, I think, so far this year. He had success against Granderson in the past, but at that point, in that situation, you have one of the best relievers in the game. You have one of the best pitchers in the game, whether he's at 114 pitches or not. You got to either trust your guy, you got to trust your starter, or you got to bring in your big gun at that point. Especially games against teams like that where they have the guys that can do damage, or they have the guys that have been there before, and obviously because they beat you last year in the playoffs.
It's a tough thing for Roberts, because here's why. I mean, if you start taking Libator out now and you don't put him in a situation where he would normally go in, then what does that do for his confidence later? Then you don't have this guy later in the season.
Now, and again, with the bullpen guys, here's the thing. If you pitch out of the bullpen, you're not pitching, 100 pitches. You're not going out for 7 innings. You're not getting into a groove. If you give up 1 run in 1 inning, all of a sudden your ERA is 9.
Yeah.
Or 27, actually.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I think they get a bad rep only because we're not giving them any run support. And you have this whole bullshit of, is Arrieta better than Kershaw? And look, Arrieta's been amazing the last 2 years, but this whole thing where ESPN's jerking him off, talking about, he's won 25 straight games, blah, 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 whatever.
But the Cubs score 5.4 runs a game.
The Cubs are scoring 5.5 runs a game. They have the highest run differential in the league, and no one's scoring for Kershaw. Kershaw is scoring for Kershaw. So, Vince, let me ask you. Okay, you go, and keep in mind we're in the playoffs. Game 7, World Series, on the road. Would you start Arrieta or would you start Kershaw?
I don't know. I'm starting Kershaw.
Absolutely.
Even last year, Arrieta didn't light it up in the playoffs, so it's not like he has an aura around him in the playoffs. So,
and I'm not taking anything away from Arrieta. I'm just saying that his offense actually scores for him and gives him run support, while Kershaw doesn't get any run support. Kershaw has, listen, in the month of May, Kershaw has 3 complete game shutouts, 1 walk.
Yeah, it's insane.
And in one of those shutouts, he was the game-winning hit because he got the RBI for himself, and he won 1-0.
The stats on Kershaw are incredible.
What is it? It's 105, 107 Ks to 5 base walks?
5 to 5.
Yeah, it's like no one's done that. In the modern era, 1900 to now, no one's ever done that. Cliff Lee came close. Cliff Lee was 100 strikeouts to 7 walks, but...
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, he's incredible. And I mean, this is a guy who I told my 13-year-old son, Vince, that, I was riding in the car with him the last day Kersh pitched. And I was like, you are going to remember this guy. You're going to be telling your kids that you got to see Kershaw pitch in his prime. It's pretty amazing. I never got to see Koufax. I got to see Hershiser, Fernando live. I got to see them their whole career. For Dodger pitchers, Sutton, I saw a little bit of some of the great Dodger pitchers. But this is a guy who we're going to be talking about 30, 40, 50 years from now as one of the greatest pitchers of all time. Where does he stand for you as a Dodger pitcher? Is he the best that you've seen?
Oh, yeah. He's the best pitcher I've seen consistently. I was born in 91, so baseball really started for me late 90s, where I can really understand what's going on. Pedro Martinez had that incredible run in the late 90s, and he gets me mad because the Dodgers had Pedro Martinez and gave him away for Delino Shields.
Yeah.
But
that gets all of us mad.
Yeah. With Kershaw, I made it a point a few years ago to try to make every Kershaw home start because you never know what's going to happen. And it ended up working out when he threw the no-hitter in 2014. I was there. But it feels like Kershaw starts almost every game, 4 or 5 innings, no hit. And then it just goes from there, whether he's going to finish it off or not. And then the thing with Kershaw is that he's not just a pitcher. He's a fielder. He's a hitter. He's a base runner. He's all-around player when he's in the game. And he has his impact on the game in so many ways.
Yeah, I mean, when he's in the game, he's the best player on the field.
Yeah, and I know it's a running joke on Twitter, and our good friend Howard Cole likes to joke about this all the time, but whenever Carl Crawford comes up, he goes, why not just have Kershaw pinch hit for Crawford? You know? And, that segues us into the outfield. I asked you guys a question on your podcast this week, and your co-host called us a bunch of
smart asses.
But yeah, what did he say? Not delinquents, smart Alex.
Smart Alex. Oh,
yes. Okay. So we'll talk about that here. Why are we using infielders in the outfield as opposed to Trace Thompson?
Yeah, well, once Trace Thompson started hitting, it's hard to justify playing Howie Kendrick, who was a career second baseman in left field. On days that Trace is not playing, though, I would rather have Howie Kendrick out there than Carl Crawford for multiple reasons. The thing with Howie is that they're trying to fit him in somewhere because he had a good month of May. He hit around 300. He turned it around, but he's not gonna really play second base because Chase Utley's been killing the ball as well. They might give him some more starts at third base to hopefully Turner turns it around or get healthier or whatever he needs to do to become Justin Turner. But it wasn't too noticeable before, but the last few games Howie Kendrick's been in left. It's been a little bit tough to watch, especially with the way Trace has been playing and looks out there. And you never know. Now they might give Puig some more days off, put Trace in right, Howie in left. So I don't know. They're getting at this point. You want some offense. You might give up a little bit of defense to do that. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and let's talk about laser technology for a second here. The Mets got upset that the Dodger nerds, apparently were using lasers to like map the field and position our players, and we have like little cards in our back pockets as to where they should position people. Now, I'm starting to get tired of this nerd bullshit, this nerd baseball, because I would rather have talent than stats out there, because stats, like, I'm not a huge stat nerd guy for advanced stats, right? Yeah. And obviously being, 27 and 25 with a $200 million payroll, stats are currently not helping us. No. So what do you make of this whole laser technology thing, Vince?
It's weird. It's, obviously different. I've coached before and I've moved my outfielders for certain players. This guy pulls a lot. This guy goes opposite way a lot. But it's going into a whole different realm now where it's getting really advanced. And, I wouldn't say I'm against it. It's just kind of weird. And then the thing with the back pocket note cards, it's already been gone on Twitter a few times that the guys are looking at their phone when it's just a note card. So that's pretty funny.
Wait, Carl Crawford was looking at his phone. Maybe it was for positioning and he wasn't just texting his wife.
Well, yeah, people say that. But it's funny you should mention doing that with coaching, because I used to coach Little League Baseball too. I used to coach a T-ball team. And I had to position players only because everybody wanted to play first base. So I would have 2 first basemen, and then I would be like, okay, I don't have a shortstop anymore. Let's bring in the right fielder to play shortstop. And it was a little. I had the shift, but the shift was created by the children because the children all wanted to play first base.
The question, too, with the lasers, is this even legal?
It is legal before the game, and if you tell the other team are doing it.
Oh, okay.
That's that, because apparently other teams do it, too. The Mets got upset, though, because the Dodgers wanted to place physical markers, and they said you can't do that.
Physical markers.
Yeah, and then the Dodgers said, okay, we're just going to go and dig our cleats into the grass, and the grounds crew was like, no, don't do that. And then the Dodgers did it anyway, so the Mets got mad, but the Mets won the game anyways, so shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Alex Guerrero. Alex Guerrero, we hardly knew ye. I think his biggest moment of being with the Dodgers was getting his ear bitten off. Mm-hmm. But it's funny you mentioned how we looked and scouted Julio down in Mexico when they were out looking at Puig. That's also when they were looking at Alex Guerrero after he defected, because he was down there. So it's funny that Julio gets his major league start, and it's also the end of the Dodger career for Alex Guerrero.
And also, Julio Urias' favorite number is number 7, which was worn by Alex Guerrero.
Oh. So now we're going to have to change our graphics.
I might say he might be in number 7 his next start.
I
That's
like
true.
78. I was kind of liking
I
that
I like those kinds of things.
lineman number.
All right, but we're starting to run out of time here.
Well, let's do our GIF of the day, Albert.
Guys, our gift of the day. Our gift of the day, you're going to see it's Alex Guerrero telling everybody to shh because he wants a moment of silence for his Dodger career that is now over.
Yeah, that's good.
Is it good? Is it bad?
I am not shedding a
the
tear.
The guy. I'm granted he never really played for us because Donnie never let him play. He was only like a pinch hitter.
He had that
was
hot
like,
month.
He had that hot month. He was like the rookie of the month for that year, and then like a year later, he's like DFA. But I guess we're getting our money back, and we can get some international signing money and stuff.
That'd be
good. I guess it leads you to. He was a bust, and then the other Cuban player that we traded to the Braves, who's now suspended for domestic violence.
Yeah.
So I guess what we've learned here is that not every Cuban player is like what you should be signing.
So far, none of ours
It's
are.
not. All right, guys, that's been our show. We'd like to thank our guest, Vince Samperio, for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been fun, and I'll look forward to being back again.
Don't forget to stalk him on Twitter at Vince Samperio. Don't forget to check out his Dodger Twitter, Ravine Fiends, where he does the play-by-play and keeps you up to date with everything that's happening on with the Dodgers. Don't forget to check out his podcast at Scully Avenue. He does a weekly Dodgers podcast. You guys should check it out. Very fun, very informative. And then don't forget to stalk us on Twitter at Best Coast Show. We're on iTunes, SoundCloud. Do us a favor. Review us on the iTunes. Do it for Vince. It really helps us out. Tell your family, tell your friends. But that's been our show, and you guys have a good night.